Racing I'm doing, first I introduced myself, Bob Stevenson, and I'm going to talk about hammer veneering a panel like you would if you were making a drawer front, like something like this, and that's what these panels are here. Start off with, you have to select a veneer that has the properties that you want. You can't use these veneers that they sell today that are paperback. This is solid wood. If you're going to practice this at home and try to learn the technique, use flat veneer. This veneer has some figure in it, and it's not really totally flat, so it makes it a little bit harder to use. But once you've learned the technique, then you can make this work. I use a pattern to cut out the size of the veneer that I want. I cut the veneer slightly oversized because I want to trim it to fit after I've glued it down. So I'll demonstrate that portion of it. You want to select the veneer to try and get the inside of the tree as the glue surface. The outside of the wood is the outside of the tree. In this particular case, it's kind of bent this way a little bit, and it has a natural tendency to bend like that. So you want to glue this side down. If you glued it this way, it would curl up on you when it gets wet. So I've chosen this as the face. You have a pencil here someplace. Mark this as the face. And we're going to select a piece of pine to put that on as the substrate. The substrate is prepared, in this particular case we're going to prepare it with a toothing plane. This toothing plane has an iron in it that has teeth that are permanently cut in it and make little ridges. The blade is set at about 90-95 degrees in the plane. You can look at this one here and you'll see how the teeth are made. And they're primarily made to flatten a board. So let's say you had a board that had been hand planed and wasn't perfectly flat. So with the toothing plane, you can run the plane over it several times like this. And if it's missing any area on here, then it's not totally flat. So you take it down until it is. It should be really close. And you can see that the teeth grab onto the fibers. But they leave little grooves in here, so it's like little hills and valleys, and that's what the glue settles in there. It's a protein glue. A protein molecule can actually grab onto the cellular structure of the wood, and it makes almost a mechanical joint, so to speak. The glue we mix up, it's 192 gram weight. Hide glue comes in a crystalline form like that. The way I mix it is I put it in a cup like this up to about ½ an inch from the top, and then I cover it with water, fill it. It becomes like cream of wheat cereal for a little while, and then eventually it'll become a gelatin. This is a gelatinous mass. If I cut down the two sides of the cup, I just peel it off and I'll have a lump of glue. And it's ready to go in the burner. This is a double boiler. We keep it at 140 degrees minimum. I keep this somewhere between 140 and 160 degrees, and I want the glue to be about the consistency of heavy cream. It's getting a little bit thick. And it's hot enough that I could add some room temperature water to it, not change the temperature of the glue very much. And that's the way it should be. It should run like that. And to test its strength, put a little drop on my thumb and finger and squeeze them together and rub them together And when I pull them apart, you can see strings. I'm probably trying to rush it too much, but the more strings you can get pulling it apart, the better it will be. And it tells me that it's still nice and strong. The next thing we do is, first of all, I have my veneer hammer in the hot water. It's heated to 120. That keeps that nice and warm. You could actually make your own veneer hammer with a couple pieces of wood and a blade. The blade can be made out of just about anything, plastic or brass, or you wouldn't want to put anything that would rust in it. It makes it too hard to keep clean. The cast iron I can just wipe off it because it's hot, it dries right away, so it's not going to rust. The glue pot, cast iron glue pot, you can carry around your shop because it's going to hold the heat for quite a while, so I can take it to the work. And we're going to go ahead and paint on a coat of
like
glue.
all good things, they've got to come to an end. It's 5-minute warning. Let's wrap it up.
That was
put all the chairs back and clean this place up before we go.
That was a quick 15 minutes, I tell you. We're going to put this face down in the glue. I'm going to finish this no matter what he says. And then we paint the back side of it. Now we're going to flip it over. I'll center it on there as best I can. And then anchor down the center of the veneer right here by rubbing out the glue, squeegeeing it. By anchoring it in the center, then it won't move around as much. It can still move. As you can see, the more glue I can squeeze out, the better it's going to be. That means there's just enough in there to hold it together.
How long is your working time?
There's no really specific time. As long as it stays warm, it's going to be workable. It sets up pretty quick. Once it gets below 140 degrees, it actually grabs pretty tight. I'm going to scrape some of the excess glue here. Now, I'm wiping this off with very warm water, and this is kind of dangerous because if this surface gets wet and it stays wet for any length of time, it's going to lift. It's going to cause it to lift off. So after cleaning it, then I dry it as much as I can. Make sure it's still nice and flat. And I go around and just tap on it, and if it has a spot with a blister underneath, it's going to change the sound. So I just percuss it with my finger, and that's nice and flat. And what I'm going to do, just to speed it up, I'll do the two sides. I won't do the end because we're running out of time. But I'm going to cut it to the size I want on the panel, using this cutting gauge. So this has a sharp blade in it. It's made just for this purpose. And we can slice off this excess. And I'm just scraping the surface, but I'm leaving enough glue on here so this surface is sized so it's ready to have more glued on. And when I get to that point, I will glue on the string, such as done here. Sometimes it's necessary to put some pins in to hold it uptight against the center panel. But if I use pins when I put this in and pull it up tight, make sure it's nice and tight. I use my Warrington hammer to do that. I just tighten it down like that. I only have to put glue on one side of the string. You don't have to put it on the top side. You only do that on a large panel. And then the cross banding, the way I normally start is I cut it in strips. I'll cut 2 with a nice 45-degree angle on it, and I'll glue those in position like so. And once they're hammered down with this, then I'll get another piece and I'll overlap it like that. Cut this 45 using this guide, and then cut these through, removing the 2 extra pieces, and that gives you a nice clean joint. Those joints don't show at all in the finished work. And that's hammer veneering.
Thank you.
You're welcome.